Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. This will be interesting. Yep, Beamer is clapping back at his critics. He doesn't appreciate all that smack talk that's been going on about his team's performance, especially offensive line. And we got to answer the question, did LSU quit on that game against FSU? Because I tell you, when you get 31, they were in the lead. They were in the lead. It was like 17-14. Then all of a sudden, FSU scores 31 points, and LSU just, I don't know what happened to them. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and see what Brian Kelly has to say about it. He wasn't real happy after the game. Now, Shane Beamer is, he's a little bit frosty. His offensive line's taken quite a bit of grief, and kind of rightfully so. If you realize that their offense only had 2 yards rushing, negative 2 yards rushing when you include all the sacks. And there were 9 sacks. 9.
9 times?
9 times.
I've watched a lot of football. I don't know that I've ever seen 9 sacks. Certainly not an SEC club anyway, because South Carolina's a good team. So that was a little bit surprising, but I don't think that Shane appreciated all the grief the offensive line was taking. So let's see what he has to say, and this is actually on Twitter.
Total confidence in them, total confidence in our offensive line, coaching, everything. So I know everybody right now, they're the easy targets to get, to criticize the offensive line. Well, get your shots in now is what I would tell people. And then when they start playing their ass off as this year goes throughout the season, make sure you're giving them credit too as the year goes on also.
Yeah, total confidence, and everybody's going to be apologizing to them later. Now, who knows? If you remember, South Carolina turned it around last year. Maybe they're just a slow starting team and they struggle at first. And then once the season gets going, maybe they get coached up. I don't know. But he's definitely frosty about it and not appreciating the criticism that the offensive line's taking. But negative 2 yards and 9 sacks. And Rattler got rattled because he got hit so many times. I'm worried about him long term. You cannot be hit 20 times in a game and a couple of times get rocked and be able to get through the season uninjured. So they need to do something to protect him. And now we had a couple other issues too. We had the hot dog incident as well that he wasn't real happy about. And we'll listen to what he had to say about the hot dog scandal.
Do we have any stats? Anybody? It's kind of the story of the night. Clock was wrong the whole game. We're trying to kick an onside kick to start the second half, and we got to wait on the chain crew because they're eating a hot dog. That's the only disappointing thing about tonight. So,
yeah, it turns out they were having to wait for the chain game. If you'll remember that, the second half kickoff got delayed about 30 seconds because they were in there eating hot dogs. And they came out a little bit late. And the reason that matters is because Shane Beamer likes to do a lot of trick plays, as you know. And he had one set up for that kickoff, and it still worked out great. They still got the ball on a trick play. But he didn't like the delay because he was like, well, that gave them extra time to prepare in case we tried that because he's so well known for it. So you had the hot dog incident. He's clapping back. And then we had one other incident with him with the North Carolina head coach after the game, which is kind of a weird thing. I'll show you what happened. Now watch this right here. Hey, I ain't done talking to you. So some people have had some fun with that. But anyway, Beamer's not happy, needless to say. He's gotten very defensive. Now he gets like that. He can get very frosty at times if he gets criticized. So we'll see how they respond, but that's one of the worst performances I've seen offensive. Now passing-wise, Spencer Rattler played what I thought was a good game, especially under the circumstances. He threw for 350 yards, over 70%, well over 70%. So the one thing that did happen to him towards the end, he started rushing his passes because he was getting hit so much, and that's always difficult. Now, he'll sometimes try to be a hero, and that could lead to some of those sacks, but a bunch of them, they were just in the backfield the whole time. And if you cannot run the ball, you're not going to score in the red zone. You're just not. And we've talked about that quite a bit. It's one of the great things about the Volunteers is we've got a good running game, and that makes it much easier for us to score in the red zone. Plus, we spread out, but you've got to be able to run the ball. Otherwise, you're one-dimensional, and then they pin their ears back, come after your quarterback, and it's just nothing but a nightmare. And this is Brian Kelly's press conference, and I'll show you that here in a second, but that LSU game, it was 17-14, and then FSU scores 31 straight points. And if you watch that game, it was like a complete 180. LSU was kind of the dominant team, or at least they had the advantage all through the first half, and they came out in that second half flat. And FSU punked them. I mean, they pushed them around like it was nothing. And that really surprised me. It felt like the entire second half LSU almost quit. And that, you know, I felt that way a little bit when we played them last year. We jumped up on them and got a big lead. And it felt like LSU kind of quit a little bit. And I don't know if that's a theme or what the deal is with that, but that would make sense if you're way behind. But they were ahead of FSU, and then suddenly, you know, something happened. And actually, Brian Kelly talked about that a little bit, but let's see what he said first that I thought was pretty interesting.
Great second half. They were the better football team tonight, and, you know, we certainly are not the football team that I thought we were. You know, got to do a much better job, obviously, and developing our football team.
Now, see, when I heard that, I thought he was kind of calling them out a little bit. It's like, look, you know, we're just not all that like you guys think you are. Now, it may not have been directed right at the players, but he's pretty much acknowledging that he's incredibly disappointed. But here's some other points that he made.
You know, I didn't like the way we came out. I sensed it. I felt it. And I've got to take accountability and responsibility for the way that we came out in the second half. It's disappointing, but you know, the buck stops with me, and I've got to get our football team to understand and recognize that, you know, you've got to play this game for 4 quarters.
Yeah. So there, he recognized there was a problem. He said he sensed it, he felt it, and you could see it. It was like it was like something happened at halftime. I don't know what it was, but they didn't come out ready to play, and FSU bullied them. Now let's see what he was talking a little bit about. They think they're better than they are, because a lot of people have been high on them all off season, and maybe they came out and thought, hey, we're just handling FSU because we're LSU. And he kind of talks about that here.
We thought we were the 2-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs or something. I don't know what we thought, but we were mistaken.
So that was pretty interesting. I tell you, I don't know if they quit on him. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe FSU just got a second win. I don't know. That was a strange game, though, to watch a team that was so equally matched and really had the advantage, and then all of a sudden they just could do nothing. I mean, they couldn't stop the run, nothing. It was a real 180, and obviously the coach recognized it as well while it was happening. So I don't know if you noticed it, but like I said, I was watching the second half going, something's weird. Something's odd here. Or have they quit? And I'm wondering if maybe they did. They might have. Anyway, I mean, I can't explain 31 straight points when you were in the lead, and I don't think many people can. But anyway, I just thought those were 2 interesting stories. Shane Beamer getting all bent out of shape is pretty typical. He kind of does that. But I don't know with Brian Kelly. It seems like he can't win the big games. He's a fine coach. You know, I don't think there's anything, well, I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't inspire the guys for those big games. We'll see. You know, maybe he gets it turned around. I think they'll still have a really good season. They got a ton of talent down there. That's one of the best recruiting areas in the world. And you have nobody to compete with because you're the big dog in Louisiana. They're almost like Georgia when it comes to that. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's me to continue to cover the Vols, SEC, and all of our opponents. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I'd appreciate it. And right over here's the most recent video that YouTube thinks you will enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk J.